Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cybersecurity Recruiter podcast. Today, I'm joined by Mariah Haag. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much. How are you?
Oh, good. Yeah. We've had a big influx of projects, and it's been like absolute, beautiful organized chaos. And now we just got a little kind of semi-regrouping session, but I'm sure it'll just go absolutely bonkers again, probably towards the end of this week or maybe next. I'm going to savor the moment to maybe do a bit of admin, Mariah, and maybe take it steady for maybe 48 hours.
Absolutely. It's always been a roller coaster ride. You go even amount, going for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you hit that high top and boom, you're going.
Yeah. Our clients, when they want something, they really want it, and they tend to want it like yesterday, and there's never any middle ground. And if 2, 3, 4, even 5 companies all have got that same amount of sense of urgency all simultaneously, it can get pretty stressful pretty quickly.
To that. Snap your fingers. We need it.
Yeah, exactly. But for the listeners that don't know you, I'm just going to do you a bit of an intro. If I get anything wrong, feel free to shout at me or correct me. But started off at Boots Bar, progressed really nicely there, got promoted on multiple occasions and finished up in management position. Then you spent some time at Hays, which for the people listening that are maybe outside the recruitment space don't know, Hays is a huge recruitment and staffing agency, one of the most successful agencies globally in the world. And Mariah's got a few great stories there that we were just talking about before we hit record. And you are currently the security project and talent management at Stratum Security, and you've been there for about 1.5 years. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for the intro, Thomas. It was wonderful. And a lot of great stories, and happy to share and bring this knowledge however I can help. But I started with Boot Barn, retail management background, and then moved into the IT, and Hays has been a wonderful start. And now I'm with Stratum Security, which is now acquired into Cyber Advisors, which is a great atmosphere, very positive. Looking forward to that new chapter with Cyber Advisors.
Cool. There seems to be a lot of acquisitions going on in the security space in a minute. It seems like mergers and acquisitions seems like a busy spot right now because I'm seeing it happen quite a lot.
Absolutely. I see it in a positive light onto bigger dreams, bigger goals, and seeing what we can do.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Basically that's all we can do.
Yeah, no, cool. It's interesting on the retail management background because I've had people guests on the show before that have come from like a restaurant background or a retail background, and I've heard things like if you can manage in that customer facing environment in rush hour, like you can certainly handle like an MSP or an MSSP or a cybersecurity consultancy. I think it sets you up really well for interfacing with stakeholders and interfacing with external and internal stakeholders in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of my career started in Nashville at the Boot Barn, downtown Nashville, Tennessee, here in the U.S., and working my way up, going through each position, learning each position. I think the biggest aspect of it is that, like you said, when you step out of the retail space and you go into this sort of line of work in IT, no matter what area, you're dealing with management, you're dealing with your MSPs, your high leadership. I cannot tell you how many CEOs, CISOs, and C-suite people I've talked with, but also managers from other companies, and asking them, okay, what is it when it comes to your people? How do they trust you? How do you make that relationship with your team to be able to go in and do what needs to be done? And especially now, a lot of companies are still remote or a hybrid situation, and keeping them focused and, okay, so this is the ultimate goal, what we want to achieve. How do we do it? Mm-hmm. One of my biggest things is building relationships. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of my background is building relationships. Just because so-and-so may be in this title doesn't mean that you can't build a relationship with them. It may support later on down the road.
Yeah, I think it's massive. It's like when, just before we hit record then, we were talking when you was in Hays and having that relationship with the BDM. For people listening, that's the person bringing in to the agency. And then if you've got a better relationship with them, obviously you understand what your clients want better so you can provide a better service. I'm imagining as well, you probably get the juicier role. I know you mentioned you got your hands on some really big roles. That's probably off the back of your relationship building as well.
Absolutely. I think it's worth putting in the work to show your leaders that, hey, listen, if you are presenting and sharing and doing everything you can to the best of your ability, that, okay, having that relationship built with them, as I said before, create yourself a huge mark, an open door to being able to work some of these big roles. This means financial sector. This means big technology companies. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but a general perspective.
Yeah, do you know what it is? It's all these little things you do. And I think over time, it just has such, the compound effect of that, I think, is huge. If we talk about this scenario, like you build like a good relationship with the BDM or internally within Hays, and then off the back of that, they give you more client information. Off the back of that, you provide a better service to your client. Off the back of that, you get given a really big, juicy role. And then you go and nail it and smash it and fill it. And all of a sudden, it's like, bang, all of a sudden your career is like absolutely rocking and rolling. And all off the back of building relationships in the first place.
And that's not just it with Hays that I did it. I also did it with my retail background and in my current role, building relationships with other people in the company. And now that we're going into a newer company, Cyber Advisors, reaching out and introducing yourself. I think that's one of the biggest things is that you have to have that confidence, step out of the comfort zone and just be genuine, raw, and real and say, hi, that's what I've been doing. I really love what you've been posting on LinkedIn or what you have been sharing. So that way it's a conversation starter. But when it comes to being in a company, it gets difficult being able to step out of that comfort zone when it's like your main focus is just, oh, I need to get this done and that done. And it's really very difficult and challenging at times. But if you can find that alley to go through, then go for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so true. The comfort zone piece, like I spoke about this before, but I think it's such an important thing because I think as well, like you talked about then about reaching out and introducing yourselves. And I feel like no matter how much you've done it over the years, it's like a muscle that needs to be exercised a lot. Because sometimes I get it where, like, I get it where, like, we've got some really good customers and they give us vacancies pretty frequently. And, like, I know them. So it's dead easy. I know what they like and they know how I work. And it's like, all of a sudden, maybe that's been happening. That can happen for 3, 4, 5 months. And I'm like, oh, God, I've not really sold our services for a while. I've not really had to tell anyone new how great we are. And it does feel scary again, even though I've done it a ton of times. So it's like that. But then afterwards, you feel great when you do it. But it's like you have to keep exercising the muscle, don't you?
Thomas, you're absolutely right. It is an exercise. It's like a muscle memory type of deal that you have to build. Like every customer or client that you work with and your BDMs, they all have different personalities. And one thing is that I learned in training when I was with Hays is one of the methods is mirroring, like helping being able to relate to the person you're talking to or the group of people you're talking to, or even just standing out. One different nonchalant comment could make a world of a difference. And somebody can be like, oh, that's a great perspective. I didn't think about that. And then boom, conversation gets started. And then by the time at the end of that conversation, you're like, oh, hey, hi, Nick. How are you doing? Okay. So next time you see them out, they'll know who it is. Yeah, it's definitely something to really build on yourself for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like on that mirroring piece because customers are, I mean, I notice it even just across the US, like state to state, people are so different. Like people in New York are very different to people on the West Coast, and certain people just really like to get to the point, and others really like to have a long-winded conversation. And if you get those two wrong, and someone that's being really direct, if you're being really fluffy and talking, they can just get really frustrated really quickly. It's really important to that self-awareness of actually seeing where someone is. And sometimes it can sound pretty simple, but sometimes people just don't do it. You need to be aware of how people like to be treated, don't you?
For sure. As the saying goes, everybody's going through something no matter what, and just treat them with kindness no matter the first time you're meeting them or the 5th time you're meeting them. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things is that when you can bring that positivity and that brightness I'd say, or more like a light to people. It helps them open up when maybe they're insecure. They could be very secure of being able to be the first one to mention, hey, hi, how you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what I've found? I think sometimes you've hit the nail on the head there with the word like insecure or insecurity, because sometimes some of the most standoffish people were customers I've had, and I've actually almost not really liked them when I first met them, but then I've got to know them. We've maybe done a few placements with them, and they're actually the most nice people. And it was all like a guard and a front for whatever's going in, for whatever it is. And yeah, I think sometimes you're right, that insecurity piece, people can put a guard up, but underneath it, if you could just break it down where perhaps others would stop, but if you can get through that bit and get to the other side, you can develop some phenomenal relationships.
100%, 100%. And you're absolutely right on that, Thomas. I can't agree with you more. I think it does get, like I said, challenging when you have somebody that doesn't have comfortability for themselves, and you're the one that has to be uncomfortable for that to be achievable. And I can agree with you on top of that. There has been people that I've worked with that I'm like, okay, I didn't like them at first. And then as soon as something just went through and boom, all good. And we're best of friends. And they're always like, hey, Mariah, I got this role, or hey, and or can you help me on this? And I'm like, sure. I definitely agree when it comes to that space, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, like on the relationship building piece, I know you mentioned mirroring, and obviously you're building relationships at Hayes and your previous role before Hayes and where you are now. If I'm listening and I'm like, I really do need to be building more relationships, I understand the value of it, but maybe I'm just not great at it, or I know I need to get better. Is there anything else I could be doing to improve the relationship building skills?
One of my favorite things is I do love to read. And out there are a couple of books that I have been given titles on, which I can share. But one is a recruitment book, and it's very explanatory, and it's very like from one of the top recruiters in the world. He wrote this book about. I'll get you the title to share. But when I read it, I'm like, wow, it opened my eyes. And he talked a lot about relationship and comfort zone and learning what you're doing. The other thing too is like how we are on. The world is a lot of technology-based podcasts as we are on. Maybe when you're folding laundry or taking care of the kids or cooking dinner, throw that podcast on that helps you explain about how to build relationships or get out that comfort zone. One of the other things too is personal self-growth courses. I've done that in my lifetime, and helping me with doing some of those personal self-growth courses has gotten me out of that shell to be able to be in groups at times and just, hi, how are you? And so those are a couple of my recommendations to help a lot more people when it comes to direction on how to get out of those type of zones.
Cool. Yeah, wicked. Thanks, Mariah. Yeah, the comfort thing, like you mentioned comfort, and I think it's so important because I think you can create a good or a bad habit either way. If you get in the habit of staying in your comfort zone, it then becomes a habit, and I think it gets harder and harder to do the things that are going to move you in the right direction. Or on the flip side, you can just get really used to going to talk to that stranger or picking up the phone, whatever it might be, or just reaching out to someone at work, or if you're in set, whatever it might be. I think you can create a habit either way, for better or for worse.
Yeah. And no, you are 100% correct, Thomas, too, on that. There are good habits and there are bad habits. And one of the biggest things that I say about that is your well-being. And it's depending on like the mood and how you're feeling for that day. If you don't feel like talking to somebody, nobody's forcing you. And in a very respectful kind of way, just explain to them like, hey, I'm going through some stuff right now. I apologize. Please don't take this personally, but I'll catch up with you maybe on another day. Let's do lunch, or let's just set up a call for another day. I think we get so caught up in trying to create good habits that we don't allow bad habits to happen so we can learn from it. And I think that's what it is, that we have to learn from our own person before we can turn it into a good habit.
Yeah, cool. I really like that. And I really like what you said as well about that if you're putting the laundry on, have something in your headphones and stuff like that. Again, I think the compound effect, that is absolutely massive. I mentioned this on another podcast, but I paid completely an heavily overpriced subscription for YouTube Premium. But the reason I do it is so I can walk around with my earpods in. And I
Yeah.
can say if I'm walking around, if I'm walking to the shop, if I'm, like you said, if I'm putting the wash it, whatever I'm doing, if there's anything at all, I do just, even if it's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or just anything, because time you can, if you're listening to the right stuff, you can improve your vocab, you can improve your ability to explain things, your knowledge on different areas. And like 3, 6, 12 months down the line, it makes a big difference.
Oh, it does 100%. I'm very active now, back in the gym and walking and things like that. And in the morning, I'll get up and I'll throw on a positive affirmation podcast and I'll just walk and listen to it and taking the affirmation and listening to them while I'm working out. As you said, it's just taking those earphones or those earbuds, throwing them on and turning something like that on in the morning or doing laundry or even cooking dinner. There's plenty of times where I'll just throw it on the radio, I'll Bluetooth, and I'm cooking dinner. I'm listening to
Yeah.
It's been very supportive, I will say that. And once you get into routine with it, there's so many podcasts and things out there that you could look up anything now these days and boom, something comes up.
Yeah, definitely. And for people listening, this stuff, I'm on the same page, by the way. Like, I love all that stuff. And I think the power of the subconscious mind is really real. And you can look at two people doing similar sorts of things. One's doing really well, one's not. And I'm like, that's the power. And I know there'll be people listening get kind of almost a bit like, oh, whatever. But if you are one of those people listening, just try it. Even if it's a day, just try it. Because if you can get your mindset better. Like, I mean, I'm sure you saw it at Hayes, Mariah. Like, I'm sure you saw two people doing the same job, like one person absolutely flying and one person just not. And I see it in recruitment all the time where like one person's blaming the market or doing this, doing that. And your subconscious mind's powerful, isn't it?
Absolutely. One thing I will recommend if a lot of people have not heard of it, which is very old. Some people read the book on it. Some people have seen the movie, but The Secret, Law of Attraction. I base my life a lot on law of attraction. You put it out there to the universe and it comes back. I think when it came to my jobs is that if I wanted something bad enough, I'll put it out to the universe and say, okay, I want to sell this much stuff at by this day to make employee of the month. Same thing with staffing. It's okay, I want to be able to have these 3 roles covered by end of the week with 3 solid candidates on each one, and each one have at least 1 interview out of those 3 candidates. I really highly recommend The Secret because it's just phenomenal. It is something that, like I said, I live my life by a lot.
Yeah. Do you know, I've heard recruitment podcasts of people that have built quite big recruitment agencies, and one of their rules is anyone that starts gets a copy of that book. Like,
I'm so glad that there's finally something happening with that because I didn't read the book. I first watched the movie when I was about 13 years old, and something sparked inside of me, and I took off from there. And I told myself that when it comes to life, my mom lives by it, some of my other family members, so it was very beneficial, and it's gotten me very far in what I do and what I continue to do for my career and my life.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. I've heard people giving the book out when people start. Also, as well, what you're doing there, right? You're breaking things down into much shorter, more manageable goals as well. Like, you're going, right, I want coverage on that role by the end of the week. I sometimes think too far ahead, and the goal's so far ahead. And not only is it so far ahead, it's normally so big that I can sometimes get demoralized. And one of my friends pulled me to one side. He goes, look, Tom, long-term goals, big, massive long-term goals, great, but you've got to have your short-term ones that you've got to nail as well to keep you on track. And it sounds like you've got that nailed down, but that's something I need to keep reminding myself of, because otherwise I can go off track.
I definitely understand that point of view, and it is great to have those long-term goals, but as you've said, you need those short-term goals. One thing that I've learned through any company I've worked with, and either it be staffing or security or retail is SMART goals. And a lot of people don't know what SMART goals are. And if you look them up, they can definitely be beneficial to help you in those smaller goals that you want to achieve. Okay, what is it that you want to achieve in the next 2 to 3 weeks? What is it that you want to achieve in the next month? I say personally, don't go more than 90 days when it comes to your short-term goals. Look at it 3 months. Okay, what do you want to achieve in 3 months? Perfect example, when I was with Hayes and in staffing, you have your associate recruiter, senior recruiter, principal, things like that. And one of my SMART goals was to achieve my next level in 3 months' time by Christmas or by December. And I actually did it. Put the goal down in August and ended up hitting my goal by December. And it was a great Christmas present to me, of course.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good because those short-term goals, even though, not years or tons of months down the road, it still was short enough that I could achieve it as long as I put the work in and did everything I could for it.
Yeah, no, it's good. All these things as well, it's ultimately what actually makes us happy. If we're striving towards things, like I've seen people that have done really well and then have nothing to strive towards and then actually got a little bit down on themselves. I think when we're in our happiest state is when we're actually striving, even happier than sometimes when we achieve it, like when we're actually striving towards it and we're like getting there. I think that kind of like hunt and chase, and that's when we're happiest.
Absolutely. Also, the fun part of it, we've discussed all these other things, but have fun. I think a lot of people don't really think that they can have fun with what they do. And you actually can. I can't tell you how many fun memories I've had in my retail management background with my team and building my team, how many laughs and good times and, oh, so-and-so made that mistake. Oh, we'll laugh it off and go in and see what we can do better. Same thing with agency staffing. I can't tell you how many great fun times I've had with Hayes, and I still look back to some of these days. And we do Day of Giving and going to the Humane Society in Tampa. And when I was with them and seeing all the dogs and kitties and all of us loving something and having fun with it. And that's I think one of the biggest things that a lot of companies miss out on is allowing their employees and themselves to have fun with what they do.
Yeah, do you know what it is as well? Like with everything that's going on in the world right now, I feel like we need that to have fun, and I feel like there's probably a big market out there for having a laugh at work and having a good time. I feel like one thing we probably all agree on was we probably need a laugh.
So too, laughing till we cry type of deal.
No, we did.
One big crazy fun activity that has us laughing until we got tears coming down our face.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? You're so right as well. Like when you're at work as well, I've had it before when we're bringing on new clients and I don't know, maybe negotiating terms or whatever, and it's all getting a bit serious. And if in that type of moment, if you can crack a joke and get everyone, it just completely like changes the vibe in a good way. And I think it just makes doing business so much easier at that point.
For sure. I think even when like customers, when our BDMs were on group meetings and some of us recruiters jumped on to help review the role with our BDM, our account managers, that when we're able to bring a joke in a little bit and make them laugh, I think it goes back to comfortability. It allows the customer and client to say, okay, yeah, we mean business, but we also like to have a good time and have fun too.
Yeah, definitely. SMART goals. I did used to know what this means, but I've forgotten. Can you remind me and anyone else that's forgotten?
So they are a framework that helps. They're the setting for effective objectives, ensure that they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART. Okay. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It creates clear, attainable, and meaningful goals in a short amount of time. Maybe you're trying to meet a deadline. I'm in project management, but also talent management now with Stratum Security, aka advisor, cyber advisor. And I think one of the biggest things I work on is those SMART goals, what we have to achieve in a short amount of time. How is it measurable, achievable, relevant to what we do? And I think when more people look at these, I think it will be more supportive for them on what they need to do in order to help those long-term goals. They go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, I think sometimes what it is just actually stopping, recalibrating and realizing where you are. Like sometimes I'm guilty of this myself where you can just be like, go, and then you almost just get lost in the grind, if you like. And sometimes just actually sitting back and especially talking to someone else about it and going, this is where we are, this is what we've achieved. And I like that reset gives you the energy to go again. And I'm definitely guilty of just trying to go. And it's not always good to be like that.
For sure.
Yeah, I get you.
It's good to be busy and stay busy and continue going, but also you do have to give yourself a break. There's times where I've had to step away from my computer just for 10, 15 minutes, go outside, take a quick walk, take a breather, because things do get overwhelming. And I think that's where we can go back to how we were talking about bad habits. We try to create good habits by being there 100% in front of our computer or at 1,000 meetings in a week. But do you really take the time to sit back and allow yourself to breathe? It's the biggest question that a lot of people ask me. They're like, Mariah, do you allow yourself to breathe? And I'm like, that is one thing that I have taught myself over the last couple of years, that, yeah, that job's there, but also on top of that, you have to give yourself some breathing room. Otherwise, it starts getting to the point where you're seeing circles. And that's where you don't want to get to. You don't want to create the bad habits where you're just not allowing yourself to give yourself time. That's one of my good things.
Yeah. I talk about this. I used to be really disciplined on meditation and do it all the time. And then now I've dropped off and I've just started again the odd time. That I tell you what, for anyone listening that think it makes a big difference, that does.
Yeah.
I find it makes a big difference.
Absolutely, it does. Makes a big difference. And even if it's not for you, Thomas, it's meditation. For me, it's reading or even a side hobby. If you're a gym junkie, as I say, go over to the gym, throw some weights around. Be careful, though.
Yeah.
Overall, find something that works for you so you don't create that bad habit that, oh, I've got to be in front of my computer 24/7. No. It also focus a lot on your health for it as well. I think as world continues to go on, that I see a lot of things going on about our health. A lot of people don't focus on it. And I think that's something that we definitely need to create more focus in when it comes to what we do, especially in the IT world.
Yeah, you learn, because it's like it's one of the reasons I always say that I've got time to do this podcast, because if I'm remote all the time, not traveling anywhere, everything's way more efficient anyway. You know what it's like, right? Going back a few years, you couldn't do anything. You'd go and meet all your clients. And like those days, rarely, which is crazy to say, that doesn't happen often anymore. And it's like, when you think about all the time being saved, like even us doing this podcast now, like we're on the other sides of the world at the minute and we're doing this podcast. Of course, we've got time to, like you say, take an hour out for the gym or take an hour out to have a good chat on a pod or whatever it might be. I think sometimes you just get into the habit where you think how efficient we are these days. It's crazy.
Oh, it is 100% crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things is that I really enjoyed traveling when we did, and we still do today. Being able to go and travel and see different places and learn different cultures and meet new people. I think that's part of network too. And I think that a lot of people need to get more into traveling to build that network again. I don't think we've gotten so used to being that introvert, extrovert that it's okay, you could be both. And that's one of the biggest things for me now that I'm getting older, is that I can still go out and network with people, go travel, meet new people, but also I do like to be home. So finding that balance, that medium balance between the two, I think it's very beneficial as well. So
Cool. That book you mentioned, by the way, that recruiting book, I'm definitely going to get that title off you, because that sounds really good. It sounds really good.
I will definitely get that title over to you so that way we can share it with everybody here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was an amazing book. And after I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, like it opened brand new eyes. And then as soon as not even 3 weeks later, boom, things just started popping in and towards the law of attraction with it. And it, like I said, I had never been in recruiting or a staffing agency before. Like when you're recruiting for retail, you're doing it on your sales floor. You're doing it in person, really, to when you're talking to people. For me, this is behind a telephone or a video chat. And really, it's just, I didn't know what I was doing. And again, I'm thankful for Hayes and all the teaching and advanced learning that they provided me. But this book was extremely phenomenal. And it was one of my fellow previous coworkers that gave it to me as a gift.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, I didn't know if it was part of, it recommended it as part of the trade. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't recommended by Hayes or anything like that. It was just a fellow coworker. He mentored me a little bit in the beginning when I first started with Hayes because he had already been with them. And he was like, oh, you need to read this book. This will seriously help you. For sure. But I'll definitely get that title over to you so that way our listeners can look it up and maybe order it either off of Amazon or they can look at their local library or however they would like to do it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely get it in the title and the show notes. In a selfish kind of way, Mariah, I'm actually just looking forward to getting it off you myself, to be honest.
I'm going to be a little selfish this time.
Yeah, cool. Was there a lot of people in the office when you was at Hayes?
So we were hybrid. We did Mondays and Fridays work from home, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in office unless we had like our end of the quarter celebration going on. Then we switched the days. Our Tampa office is very full. Almost every desk we had somebody in different departments. We had cybersecurity, we had life science, we had mid-martech. We worked with certain clients, and it was just amazing, really. And the camaraderie of just because you're on that team doesn't mean you can't talk to them. One of my favorite things is I love to cook and bake. And for the all random when I can or when I could have, I would bring in, like, I would make baked beans and meatballs and homemade garlic bread. And I would do like a big pan of it and bring it in for the office. And whoever was there at the time could come and have it for lunch. And that's how I made my mark in the company with them. But it was great. It was combining everybody together because you had your front office and back office in this space. I knew people in legal and finance, and then I knew people in mid-market tech that were recruiting. It was just, you definitely create those different relationships. And it was funny because we would cross-roll with some of each other. And it's, oh, hey, I've got this role in mid-market tech. Right, or so-and-so, do you have anybody for this? Because it looks somewhat cybersecurity as well. And so definitely there's great feeling being in office, but also it's fun being remote too, because it allows you the privilege to travel and things like that. But again, being in office, I've had no problems with it.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? It's like listening to you talk about the office, because I get this sometimes, and I like talking sometimes to my friends, and I'd be like, really miss those office days, like early agency days, like going out for lunch. And this is going back a few years, but maybe even having a beer at lunchtime because things have gone really like all that. And I'm like remembering all these, and I'm like, God, I miss the office. But then people are like saying to me, Tom, you're just remembering like the highlight snapshots over like the whole year. There was a lot of times where you were probably stuck in traffic or on the commute and you hated it. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm like reminiscing and only remembering the good times. But listening to you talk then, you've made me do it again. I'm like, God.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun time. There were happy hours with us. There were after different events that we hosted and things like that. I think some days I do miss it, and some days I'm like, oh, thank God I'm home. I don't miss the commute. Tampa Bay here in Florida in the U.S. has built up a lot, especially with the technology sector. And there are a lot of people moving here to Florida. There are a lot of people moving to the Tampa Bay area. Some of the big companies that are here, you have Rapid7 that opened an office. You have Reliable here as well. So these are some big name companies. And Tampa turned into a very big tech city. That would be at times exhausting. That's like, we did plan ahead of time. Okay, we'll do happy hour from this time to this time, and then we'll wait 30, 40 minutes, and then we'll leave. Traffic will die down. I-4 won't be as busy as normal. It definitely brings back good times, but even just in office, when staying after for a little bit, I do remember the good times. And it's not just when I was with Hayes, it was with Boot Barn as well. the fund, the re-merchandise, having to put this over there and reorganize store and coming in early and bringing coffee for the employee. It's just been a real good situation all around for me. And I hope people are getting the same or close to the same feeling as we're talking about now.
Yeah. I think there's pros and cons with both. Where I worry, right, for people like for juniors coming up, I'm sure you're the same as me. I learned so much from being in an office environment with way more experience than me at the time. And it's like you learn so much through osmosis, just being in the same room, even if no one's really mentoring you, just the conversations you overhear and just rubbing shoulders with people that have been doing something for 5, 10, 15 years longer than you have. Like, it's kind of irreplaceable. I think where we are now, and we've done our jobs for a while, we're probably okay to be remote, but I think juniors coming through, I think it could definitely affect their progression.
Right before I moved on from Hayes, that we started internships and looking into getting internships for some of the local high schools in Tampa. And we would bring the kids in and they loved it. And it gave them like another way to see, okay, how can I get a job? A lot of people are coming out of colleges and they don't know how to go about. They're taught, hey, I need to create a resume, but what do I do from there? And this is where businesses, not just staffing agencies, but independent agencies, people that are doing their own recruitment for themselves with maybe 1 or 2 people, they can support these new people, young adults coming out of colleges and finding those jobs for them and making them feel. But I will say being in an office camaraderie is definitely beneficial, especially if you're starting out. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. The best days, like I said, remote's amazing. It's phenomenal. But the best days you'll probably have are probably going to be in the office. Oh, yeah, definitely. Normally, the last question I ask is which book or podcast or online content has had the most positive impact on your career? But you've already given us 2 phenomenal ones. So I probably won't ask you that unless there's any other podcast or anything you've been listening to that could help the listeners. Is there anything else you've heard recently?
Not really. Pretty much what I've shared throughout our podcast here has been beneficial, but The Secret, watching the movie, or even reading the book itself. And then I would say the other thing too, is listening to podcasts of how to get out of your comfort zone. I think that's the biggest thing. Building relationships and getting out of that comfort zone, because as soon as you can work those two, I would say if you're going to a networking event, like especially in our field, like Black Hat or a couple others that are big name here in the U.S. or even over there where you're at, Thomas, too. I know there's many across the sea and here with us that start listening and start building yourself. And my biggest thing I say is make your mark.
Yeah. Cool. It's been nice chatting when we first started talking about this, but it was a little while ago. We've had this in the making for a while, haven't we, this?
It's been a while. We've had a couple bumps in the road with me. Usually all the best stuff comes out after those bumps in the road.
Exactly, definitely. Listen, it was worth the wait, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. It's been a really nice chat, and there's been some really good bits of information in there, so thank you. It's been nice chatting away. It's been good fun.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, and I'm happy that I shared what I could, and thank you to our listeners for listening to this, and if you have anything more, feel free to connect with us, and we'll do what we can.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Mariah. Thanks.
Thanks, Thomas.